Okay, let's continue. Any questions so far? No? Okay. The one at the bottom of the hierarchy, Chinese customary law. The hierarchy, you can go back and take a look at this hierarchy. Here, okay, at the bottom, lowest authority. So its significance is diminishing, getting less and less. Okay, and it applies to in the Hong Kong SAR. And for example, give you one example is the Section 13 New Territories Ordinance. Okay, so there are some other examples of this Chinese customary law, but the main point is its significance is diminishing, getting less and less important. Then the sources, where can you find these different types of laws, literary sources of law? Now, literary sources of law meaning those documented documents which contain law. Okay, because some other sources of law may be not documented, they may be conceptual. Okay, but here these are documented. Say it can be divided into two further subcategories: primary and secondary literary sources. So primary sources include, I mentioned earlier, the basic law. Okay, PRC national laws applicable here, the statutes, ordinances, subsidiary legislation, and also the law reports. Now, I mentioned all these, right? I also show you one example of the law report, right? That is the elevator case, right? Otis elevator. But where to find them? Where to find? Now, you know where to find the ordinance, right? It's easy. Hong Kong e-legislation, the website will show you, okay? But where can we find law reports? This is one example, very common example, the Hong Kong Legal Information Institute, in short, HKLII. Okay. So it allows you to search cases. Okay, like okay, you use keywords. The case I mentioned to you, Otis elevator, right? Elevator. Okay, then you can search. Okay, there are many cases involving, say, these keywords, Otis elevator. Okay. Okay, maybe we click this one, 2007. Right. So this case is between Otis elevator and this guy called Zhang Yip-chun, David. Okay. So the whole report is here. This is a relatively short one, very short, right? So in order to download a copy, you can download it, okay, Microsoft Word Judgment. So it's similar to the one I showed you earlier, similar. This is a shorter case, of course, right? Okay. Only 6 pages. Okay. So from here, you can search whatever cases or keywords you have in mind. Okay. So elevator, Otis elevator is just one case. There could be many other examples, right? Okay. So the very easy, right? You may just copy this link or you just punch in HKLII. Okay. Then you should be able to say HKLII. Okay. Then it will show you this database. Okay. Later on, for the in-class activity, I will also guide you to search some cases from this HKLII database. Okay, search some law reports. Okay. So in court cases, judges would base on the facts and arguments put forward by the disputing parties. The case I mentioned, like the Otis elevator and another guy, they have different facts and arguments put forward. Then the judges would analyze them and then make judgments. So the decision made are recorded in such law reports, and they are part of the decisional law. Okay. And those pertaining to Hong Kong can be found from the following sources. For example, we can find such law reports in different categories. Say the name of law reports called the Authorized Hong Kong Law Reports and Digest. Short form is HKLRD. From 1997 onwards, Hong Kong Law Reports HKLR, Hong Kong Court of Final Appeal Reports HKCFAR, and so on. Now, you don't need to memorize this. I just let you know that there are different types or categories of law reports, and they are having different abbreviations. Because later on, when you cite a case, when you refer to a case, you would come across such abbreviations. There are some more examples. District Court, DZLR, Hong Kong cases, HKC, criminal law, CLR, Inland Revenue Board cases, IRBRD, and so on. So this is you can take this table as a reference in case you come across a term or HKLTR, what it is about, then you can refer this table, or it's about Lands Tribunal law reports. Okay, so there are some other examples also listed here are those specialized areas of law. This is another table summarizing some examples. Hong Kong Conveyancing and Property Reports, CPR, short form. Hong Kong Cases, HKC. Some of these I mentioned already. HKCFAR, CLR, DCLR, FL. This is family law, FLR. Okay. Then you may ask, when did we start having such law reports? Now, the importance of having these cases is what? Because it contains some principles, law principles, right? That we may need to refer to, right? But when, and what about the history of such law reporting? How or when did we have such law reporting? Of course, in the old days, there were English cases, right? Back centuries ago, decisions made in English cases, therefore, are still influential to judgments on cases in Hong Kong. Now, the table below lists the law reports of English cases. Could be from the House of Lords, Privy Council. Maybe some of you have heard about this term, Privy Council. Court of Appeal, High Court of Justice. These cases, although were in England, UK, many of them are still influential, affecting judgments on the cases in Hong Kong, because Hong Kong's legal system was basically modeled on the English common law system, right? Okay. Now I will show you the history, a bit about the history of law reporting.
In August of 1928, May Donoghue and a friend decided to visit the Well Meadow Cafe in Paisley for a pear and ice, and in the case of May Donoghue, an ice cream and a bottle of ginger beer.
It has human interest in a very stark way. The two ladies going to the cafe and buying ginger beer.
Everything was paid for by May Donoghue's friend. Now, the act of buying a bottle of ginger beer for a friend would not be unusual now. It wasn't then. It was a transaction that occurred hundreds of times each day in countless cafes across the country.
It appeals to people of all ages, of all interests, and of all levels.
When a friend bought May Donoghue that bottle of ginger beer, the transaction and its aftermath formed the basis of one of the most celebrated and important Scottish cases in world legal history.
Well, you have a combination of important precedent and an interesting story. It undoubtedly captures the imagination of lawyers.
Verena Stevenson manufactured a bottle of ginger beer. May Donoghue didn't just get ginger beer. She discovered something else as well.
It's got Paisley, Kathy, a friend, ice cream or ginger beer and just decomposed snail. It's just perfect.
The decisions of courts in cases such as Donoghue against Stevenson are hugely important and have a significant impact on the development of the law, and as such need to be recorded. They are recorded in volumes of law reports.
Law reporting really dates from the 16th century when judges started to keep records of cases decided in court session. Through the 17th century, judicial collections of those practices were made. And some judges' collections were printed. The first of all were those of Lord Stair. In 1693, there is a great innovation. For the first time, people can attend the inner house when the judges give their opinions on the case. Before that, it had also been done in secret. And from the 1690s onwards, the faculty of advocates becomes very keen to collect decisions of the court. In the later 18th century, Scots lawyers come to value precedent. They start to develop the idea that through the argument between the lawyers, legal points are well worked out, and so the lawyers came to see judicial decision-making as an important way of identifying the principles that they started to think were inherent in the law. Then linked to that were reforms in the Scottish court structures in the early 19th century. And the Scottish courts moved away from the collegiate nature of the bench, with a large bench deciding, to what we would now see as a first instance and second instance structure in the court of session. And this, of course, made it precedent clearer. And, of course, made the opinions of the judges more significant, because you would have one judge focusing on a point, and you could have what by the, say, 1830s, issue dissident, either principle which had been decided in individual case.
The court in Edinburgh was making decisions which were very important. It was establishing principles of law, elucidating principles of law, and that information about what it was doing, what decisions we were making, had to get out there to the general public, had to get out there to the lawyers.
The Faculty of Advocates was interested in getting a collection of reports that were used by the advocates in the court in the early 19th century.
To do that was to have reports of the decisions which were publicly available. It could be used by lawyers in advising their clients and by the general public in knowing of the lawyers. Succession cases have been around for quite a long time. The first one was started in 1821. There are 3 divisions within it: the High Court of Justiciary, and the reports from the High Court of Justiciary, which is the Supreme Criminal Court in Scotland. Then there are the decisions of the Court of Session, which is the Supreme Civil Court within Scotland. And then we also have decisions of the United Kingdom Supreme Court in Scottish matters.
The practice in Scotland of detaining persons for up to 6 hours. So
For nearly 200 years, session cases have provided an authoritative record of the most important case law of Scotland.
In essence, they're the most significant Scots law report that we've all grown up with since we were in law school, so we're familiar with it. And we're obviously probably go to it first. If there's a session case report, you would use it first, whether it's there for the system one.
Okay, now this short video shows just a bit about the history of law reporting, because the arguments the judges made in the court were documented in such cases. So as you can see, in the old days, the lots of such very thick booklets, right?
Those floors here.
Like the one here. I mean, in the old days, people rely on hard copies, but nowadays, you guys are, I would say, very blissful because you can use electronic tools, online platforms. We can easily search using keywords to find law cases, right? So it could be good, could be bad, because it's good because you can quickly search and find material information. It could be bad because nowadays lots of information. Lots of information meaning what? You have to read a lot, right? So, but in this subject, I would guide you and try to select the some examples, good example for you to read. Okay. So if you're interested, you can, now this is a very famous case, okay? Donald Hill versus Stevenson. You've come across this name later in a later lecture in tort law. This is a very famous case. If you study tort law, everybody knows this case. Donald Hill versus Stevenson's case. Okay. Okay. I will explain this case to you later in the chapter on tort law. Okay. So these are some other literary sources. These are English cases. Now the cases I mentioned about, those are Hong Kong cases. Here, we also have some English cases. So the law reports, again, similarly, we have different types and categories. So these are appeal cases. The short form they use on the English side is AC, Queen's Bench, QB, Chancery. I mentioned this court before, right? Court of Chancery, CH, Family Law Reports, FAM, and so on. So you take this table as a reference, okay? So why? I have to introduce that to you because when you come across a case citation, like this one here, you'll find HKC, right? This short form. So once you find this short form, you will understand that, oh, it is what? You can refer to this table, Hong Kong cases, right? HKC. Okay, how to read this citation? On the left, the first one would be the name of the plaintiff. Okay, the name of the plaintiff. Or the name of the appellant. So the difference between plaintiff and appellant is the first time the case goes to the court, that guy is called plaintiff. But in an appeal case, sometimes after the first trial, this guy does not satisfy with the result, then he may lodge an appeal. The second time the case goes to the court, he becomes the appellant. the one launching the appeal. Okay, and the subsequent appeal cases, all called appellants. The first time is called plaintiff. Understand? Then the other side, the opponent, is called defendant. The first time. Okay. After the first time in appeal cases is called respondent. Okay. So we have the name of the plaintiff, the name of the defendant. Between them, we have short form V, right? Versus. You know, like when we have a football game, tennis game, right? Two parties playing against each other. We have A versus B, right? Same here. V, short form. Okay, the citation for the case, like this bracket, 1993 to HKC 47, this one. What does it mean? The bracket indicates the year in which the law report was published. Okay. This number, the volume of the law report in that year, 1993. In that year, there could be many volumes of the law report booklet, okay? As you can have just seen from the video. Many books, reports. And there could be volume 1, volume 2, volume 3, volume 4, and so on. Okay, in that year. So this is the second volume in that year. HKC abbreviation, Hong Kong cases in this example. 47 is the number indicating the page number of the law report. Understand? Okay. This is how you should interpret the citation of a case. So usually writers would prefer using italics. Italics. Okay. Okay, italics for words representing court cases, but some others would use bold letters instead of italics. It depends. Okay. Different styles. Okay, other than the above are what? The above are primary sources. The following are secondary sources. So primary sources. Primary sources, basic law, national laws, ordinances, law reports, all these are primary sources. So what are secondary sources? Secondary sources. For example, those written by legal scholars on the laws in primary sources. Here, one example, legal encyclopedia, somewhat like a book, encyclopedia, but that is a legal one. It's a secondary source. Textbook, legal textbook is another example, secondary source. So maybe jump a bit. At the end, you'll find, say, this one, The Hong Kong Legal System by Lo, Chang, and Chui. This one is a legal textbook. Okay. This one, Business Law in Hong Kong, is also another legal textbook. All right. So these are examples of textbooks, legal textbook under secondary sources. A further example of secondary source is what? Journal, periodical, articles. So some example of journals like Asia Pacific Law Review, Hong Kong Law Journal, and could also include the one at the back. This one. This one was written by me a long time ago, 2004, 21 years ago. Time flies. That one is about law and building services maintenance in Hong Kong. It's a law journal. It's a journal article. Although it's not law journal, it's an engineering journal. So that article You can download it from these, see whether it works. Now, this is that article, Law and Building Services Maintenance in Hong Kong. Okay. So you can click that link and then download this article, Law and Building Services Maintenance. It's a kind of secondary source. Okay. So you'll find this article containing the diagram I included in my PowerPoint slide. Okay. And some more information that I will share and discuss with you later in some later lectures. Okay, you'll find this in some later slides. Just to let you know that journal article is one example of secondary source. Okay, then you also find this reference articles list, which I uploaded to Blackboard, right? There are quite a number of articles. I'm not sure whether you have counted how many articles there, right? Many, of course, right? So it's actually not yet the full list of my publications, right? But I just included the most salient ones for inclusion here. And for you, for this subject, here I categorize them already in this category: policy, law, and contract management. So, but in this section, just in this section, already 16 journal articles, which I have authored or co-authored. Okay, the first one is this one. Some more like, okay, disputes, contract disputes, and okay, maybe about the lift and escalators ordinance in Hong Kong. And even the property management services ordinance introduced just a few years ago. And even, for example, talking about air pollution control ordinance. Okay. Okay, so many more, okay? But I would refer you to some of these articles when appropriate, when necessary, throughout our lectures, okay? But this lecture at the moment, you can take a look at this one, at this stage, okay? So for the others, say we are studying some other areas, you need some references, you find some of them interesting, useful, say for construction, project management, you can also look at some of them here. For maintenance, economics, some of them here and so on, okay? Okay, courts and tribunals. So we have different courts, different tribunals. Why? Because they deal with cases, issues of different natures, different causes, different seriousness, okay? Seriousnesses, okay? That means what? Cases could be different in terms of nature. Their causes could also be different. And some cases could be very serious, some others could be less serious. So courts and tribunals specialize in these particular areas with different jurisdictions. Their scope of control, their powers, authority could also be different. So here are different courts in Hong Kong. Let me see if I can show you. Yeah, I better show you this diagram first. Okay. So we have district court somewhere here, Lands Tribunal at a lower level, Court of Appeal at a very, very high level. Court of Final Appeal, Court of Appeal under Court of Final Appeal, Court of First Instance under Court of Appeal. You also have the Competition Tribunal. Have you heard about this tribunal? It was set up not long ago, a few years ago. After we have the competition law in Hong Kong. Again, competition law in Hong Kong also introduced not long ago. Okay, with that, we have this new tribunal. Okay. So similar to this diagram, we have more details here. Under the Court of First Appeal, we have different tribunals or courts under this, I mean, in terms of level, under the CFI, Court of First Instance, Labor Tribunal, Small Claims Tribunal, and so on, Magistrate Courts, Juvenile Court. So what are they? A low-level one, Magistrates Courts, at a quite low level. We hear a wide range of offenses, summary offenses, indictable offenses, more serious one. Trials may be conducted in either Chinese or English. Now, in the old days, when you watch some TV programs, people may believe that, oh, cases are all tried in English. Actually not. Okay. Some could be in Chinese, some could be in English. Not always in English. Okay. Juvenile courts in the magistrates courts. Here's charges for those people under 16. Juvenile, not adult. Okay, juvenile, under 16. Make care and protection orders, that sort of things. Okay. Land tribunals deals with what? Tenancy disputes, land resumption matters. This one very much related to our subject. Building management matters. Okay. Some cases are tried here in the lands tribunal. Rates and rents matters, lands tribunal. Housing ordinance, governing matters, those matters are also here, lands tribunal. Another tribunal, labor tribunal. Disputes between employers and employees, okay, in this tribunal. For example, the employer doesn't pay the employee salaries, unpaid wages, trial here, okay? But not handles employees' claims founded in tort. Tort in case the employee got injured, claim the employer, then it is not to be trial here. It is to be trial somewhere else. Okay? In this tribunal, usually the hearings are informal, conducted in Chinese mostly. Okay? And no legal representation is allowed. That means people going there could not hire a legal representative, could not hire a lawyer. Say if you are the employee, your salary is not yet paid by your employer, you as the employee, you yourself go to this tribunal to explain your case, rather than employing a lawyer to represent yourself. Okay, that's the characteristic of such tribunals. Okay, that means these cases are relatively not serious. Okay, but for serious cases, people would employ lawyers, right? These are small cases, tribunals. Very small cases like small claims, civil claims, not exceeding 50,000, but changed. For example, in 2018, the level was uplifted to 75,000. So if you know there's any recent changes in this ceiling, let me know. But this ceiling may be raised every a few years, maybe. Okay. But in any case, this amount is small claims. Hearings mostly in Chinese and trial by an adjudicator acting as the judge. No legal representation is allowed. Another tribunal, just let you know, is not very much related to this subject. This one is about obscene articles. Class 1, Class 2, Class 3, those obscene or indecent articles. Carranza's court mainly to look into the cause of deaths. Some people died in order to find out the reasons. Then we'll have the trial at this coroner's court, trying to find out the reasons for people who died. This one is more relevant to our subject, district courts. It includes the family court, but of course our cases mainly about other matters other than family matters. District court covers both criminal and civil jurisdictions. It covers cases like contract cases, tort cases, therefore very much related to our subject. Okay. Okay, family courts, just let you know, it deals with matrimonial matters, family matters, marriage, divorce, that's all things. But maintenance here, not building maintenance. Maintenance, this term in family court refers to child custody, adoption, and maintenance fee. The maintenance fee is the fee for maintaining the livelihood, for example, of the divorced woman. That means the husband has to pay certain sum of money to the divorced wife in order to maintain her livelihood. That is maintenance fee, but not building maintenance fee, okay? Different things. Courts and court decisions. We have the High Court before 1997, after 1997, before it was called Supreme Court, and under this we have the, consisting Court of Appeal and High Courts. Now it is called Court of Appeal and Court of First Instance. Court of Appeal, Court of First Instance. Now, before it is called Court of Appeal and High Court. It was renamed in 1997, but the functions, jurisdiction do not change. Okay. Court of First Instance, CFI. Or regional jurisdictions. Some serious cases, the first time they go to court would be here. Now, those cases that are not very serious would be somewhere here. Relatively serious case, the first time it goes to court would be here. Appeal of such serious case would be here. Further final appeal of such cases would be here. Go up, up, up to the highest level for appeals. Okay. So CFI can deal with civil matters and also criminal matters. Okay, but relatively serious cases. As examples here. Judicial review or murder, manslaughter, these are serious cases. Criminal. So these diagrams, the arrows shows the path of appeal. Say a case was tried here in the labor tribunal, but then one of the parties is not satisfied with the outcome. He or she may lodge an appeal. Then it will go upward. Okay, the decision here, again not satisfied, then further appeal, go up. Decision here, also not satisfied, then further up. Okay, so the arrow shows the route of the flow of appeals. Same here, appeal structure. Then tribunal will go to Court of Appeal. District Court appeal, go to Court of Appeal. CFI appeal, go to here. Competition Tribunal also here. CFA established in 1997, 1st of July. Replaced the previous one called Privy Council. Okay. So CFA is the highest appellate court, that means court hearing appeal cases. Has the final power of adjudication. Okay, the highest level, this one, CFA. So just a very simple question. Which court or tribunal hears the majority of FM cases? We are studying legal issues for FM, right? What do you think? Court, which tribunal? Now, for those cases which are not very serious, maybe here, right? Magistrates court. More serious may be at the district courts. Even more serious will be here, CFI. Okay. Tribunal, you also come across cases, maybe labor tribunal or small claims tribunal. Could also be related to FM. Again, no hurry, because what? Later, you'll find some more examples of such law reports. Say, for example, this is another one, even between one party and PolyU. Okay, some years ago. Here you see DC meaning what? District courts. As I said, right? District court could also deal with FM cases. This one was the case personal injury. Someone in the changing room, right? Swimming, changing clothes, wet floor, sleep on the floor. Okay, it's very common case. What we call fall and slip and fall. Slip and then fall, okay, and then got injured, then claim. Right? Very common in toilet, everywhere. Right? So this is FM matter. Okay. If you clean the floor but you forget to dry the floor, it could be very troublesome. All right. So you'll find some more materials, information that would help you understand more. Okay, here, one final slide. I have to stop, as promised. Hong Kong SAR judiciary courts and cases types. These are some more examples showing, for example, FA short form, Final Appeal, Civil, CV, Final Appeal Criminal, FACC. Okay. The one I mentioned, DC, District Court, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so you can find out some more examples. Okay, these two slides, the final three slides are important, which I need to take some time to explain them to you. Not now, but in the next lecture. Okay? Okay, let's stop here. Any questions?